Yep, yeah, we're good. I think we're live.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Behind the Scenes. We're 2 minutes late because we were so deep in conversation about what should probably be our topic next week, which is the impact of social media on raising kids today. Because it is like I actually feel grateful that we tiptoed into it, and then our kids were old enough to manage it on their own. So for parents raising teenagers today, we're gonna try and bring it up next week with some ideas of what we're hearing and what works. But for today, we're going to talk about. First of all, it just came up this weekend with somebody where they were a non-parent talking about all of the things that parents do wrong. And I was like, oh, I remember those days when I was the best parent I ever was before I had children. I mean, seriously, it is so hard to say all the right things all the time, or maybe sometimes any of the time. But I remember this one really bad parenting moment where the story was that my driver, my only driver in the house, left another kid. They were at the same place together, and that person left the other kid there because she didn't like the way they talked to her. So, like, got in the car and drove there with a kid and drove home without a kid. So I said, hand me the keys, you will never drive again. I think I said first, go pick up that kid. And they said, no, no. So I said, okay, hand over the keys. You will never drive again. And as it's coming out of your mouth, you're like, first of all, didn't I swear I would never say things like that? And second of all, how does one actually make that happen? You will never drive again. So anyway, I open it up to you guys. What else? And also, if you're watching and you want to put any of your moments of bragging about when you weren't at your best, put it in the comments. So someone save me from being alone out here.
So I will tell a story where one of the things I did as my kids were growing up is I always looked towards parents with older kids and saw what things worked and didn't work. Kind of had like a mental checklist. And one of the things I remember thinking was I wasn't going to say things like that. So I really worked hard at not doing that. But my husband was not so good. So he would say things like, if you touch that again, I'm going to cut off your arm. And I'd be like, seriously, you're going to go with that, you know? But I really thought that those kinds of things were, believe me, I wasn't perfect at it, but I do remember just thinking like, be careful what you say, because you don't want to go back on that. And I remember going to a friend's house and her kids kept doing stuff, and she and her husband kept going like, if you keep doing that, you're not going to get this. You're not going to get this. And I was like, oh, come on. And you know what? Those kids wouldn't behave because they'd done it so many times. So when I did say something, my girls knew.
Okay, Angie has, and this is.
Oh my gosh.
All right. Well, someone read it because the delay. Okay. Just the other day, I caught myself saying she thinks money grows on trees. First of all, Angie, thank you. Thank you for coming on board and sharing that, because who the heck hasn't said that to their kids? And what does it even mean? So thank you, Angie. Someone else who's got something to say.
Gosh, when I was a teenager, I remember I can still like feel it in my body how upset I was when my parents did this to me. So I was getting dressed to go out, and I came to show my parents what I was wearing, so proud of my outfit. And my mom was like, you are not going out wearing that. Looking like that, you know? So I promised myself I would never comment on what my kids are wearing. And yeah, well, I have commented on what my kids are wearing, and every time I do it, I cringe. But like, oh, it's awful. I wish
Jessica,
I wouldn't.
can you put up the link for the last week's podcast? Because the whole conversation was about looks and clothing and how we talk about that. It was really life-changing to hear this woman who, you know, says just don't ever comment. Like, but of course, Melissa, I did. I let the leash go really far. And then one day the kid was getting out of the car in shorts where there was still tushy showing underneath. And I was like, okay, line drawn. Nah.
I can't think of any specific things off the bat. There were probably because there's so many, but I do know it was when I was tired and impatient that I just know I would say dumb things, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure I said because I told you so, or because I'm your mom, or I'm sure I can't think of anything specific. It's Monday. But I will put in that disclaimer. I think for a lot of us, it's when you're tired or impatient or just feeling overwhelmed. I think it's really easy to say all those things we shouldn't say and do. I wish I could think of some. I can't.
All right, Franziska and Holly, jump in.
Well, I think, the teenage things, they are a little too fresh for me. I don't think I have. I'm allowed to share those, but I will tell you, when they were really little, I remember this scene so well that my daughter, I think she was like 1 or something, okay, and she had something, and I was like, is she sick? Is she not sick? But I was so nervous about it, and so I went to the doctor, and I sat in the pediatrician's office, and I started to cry, and she said, what's wrong? And I said, I don't want to be one of those moms who comes here every other day. This is not how I pictured this.
I think we've all been there. I think we've all been there.
How did she respond, Franziska? Was she helpful?
She was so helpful. She was so nice. And we kind of, for the next years, we would always joke about this, when I would come in. But I think it was this first, again, before you have a kid, you have this picture of yourself as a parent, right? And then when it starts to crumble, which it will, for sure. Right. And it just, that moment always stuck with me as this first, where really bricks started falling. And I was like, yeah, you just have to roll with the punches, and you have to let go of this beautiful picture,
Yeah, true.
Well, for me, I think the one thing I always told myself I would not do is repeat stories, because both my mom and dad, they got together very young in life. They knew each other from elementary school. Wow. And they would repeat the same stories over and over. And we'd be rolling the eyes, oh, here's the story about, when my dad got in trouble and had detention for a week again. And now I'm there, and sometimes I even know I'm going to repeat the story, before it comes out. And, there was a story about, being in high school and making a little bit of a mishap and with alcohol, and it's been meant to prove a point, and how, in this situation happened once. I won't get into it. And it's Mom, you have told us the story 1,000 times. Yeah. And I'm I turned into my own mom. No.
Yeah.
And when you say with the setting, the boundaries, I took that to heart. Oh, someone is saying something.
You got Jerry Friedson.
Whatever. I hate to hear.
Sue, you're muted.
Okay, Jerry, it's so great to see you. Last time I saw Jerry, he was visiting his daughter in Beechwood. So it's been a while. And I think what Jerry is saying is this, how we go, whatever, which is so dismissive, but he finds himself using it. Yeah. I actually think my kids do that to me. They get this kind of when I'm trying to make some point that I think they need more words than they think, and they'll just go, whatever, and walk out of the room. And I feel well, I really was just told there that nothing I said mattered at all.
It's so dismissive, isn't it? It's such a dismissive, I try to joke and go, whatevs, because I don't know what else to do whenever that gets said to me. I'm did you mean whatevs? Because I mean, it is, it's I have nothing of interest or importance to say.
And I remember my middle son would say to me, instead, he'd yes me to death. when I was like, oh, we're not going to, or this, or I can't buy. Yes, Mom. You're right, Mom. Yes, Mom. Same thing. I knew he was not paying attention. Mom, yes, you're right. Now that just got infuriated me even more because it was like, he's giving me the whatever. So maybe it's more, I remember more what my kids said to me than I did to them.
Well, I think the truth is I'd rather the respectful argument or disagreement than the dismissive, like I don't even have the words to respond to what you just said. It's not even worth it. That's horrible.
Except with whatever, you could almost get mad at him back. Don't say, what do you mean? But with yes, Mom, you're like, yeah, I know you don't mean that, but you're saying it. Anyway, they're very smart. They're very smart, our children.
Yeah.
Wise beyond their years.
Oh, yes.
Similarly, I have used my mom's favorite catchphrase with me, which was, "Don't use that tone with me." Except I have switched it up, and I said it's not what you're saying; it's how you're saying it.
Yes.
Oh, look at you, Melissa. Such a more effective, but it actually is. It is better because one is like also just so punitive and like we're not even going to talk, and the other is you might have something to say here, but it's getting wrapped up. I think experts would say that was good parenting.
Well, I remember being a teenager and not understanding what the tone was that I was using because it was just my voice at that age. I think I used that tone everywhere. So,
okay, that's funny.
But don't you think that sometimes your kids think it's tone, but it's just that everything you say is annoying to them? You know what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like you say something I could say to you in the exact same tone, and for some reason it's really annoying and it feels judgmental or it feels like I'm chastising them. And I was like, wait, I just thought I said it in a normal voice.
Okay,
So
but I'm going to add some color that my children have shared with me. They know what I think before I talk because it's been a lifetime of me sharing what I think are invaluable lessons with them. So when I try to say it in a neutral way, it makes no difference because it's layered with years and years of my opinions.
Like my girls will say, like, your voice says one thing, but your face has something totally different. And I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, Mom, please. Like, be like, oh, that's really nice. And they're like, you don't even mean it. We can just see it like in your face, in your eyes. And I was like, dang it, stop paying attention to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, to all of you who have no children, now's the best time it ever gets. all of your perfect. Yeah, Jess, you are a perfect parent right now.
I'm the perfect parent. Or I can't even say that. I have a very distinct memory. I think it was you. I was on a call with you, and you were like, "You are nice to everybody except for that poor little dog." I'm like, I know he's doing it on purpose. I know.
You are nice to everybody. You are kind to everybody. But those are people. Maybe dogs are different. I don't know.
He can't understand what I'm saying. I can say whatever I want.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being here with us. We especially appreciate Jerry and Angie for making comments today. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Unless I can't get this to turn off.
We'll still be here next week.
No, actually, it's not responding to me.
I'll hit end broadcast. Let's see.
I got